Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I am starting my look at the Pokemon video game by looking at my boy Snorlax. In these videos, I'm going to be showing you essentially all of the abilities, the main moves, everything you need to go and train yourselves a competitive Snorlax, and I will be giving you a couple of example sets at the end with the EV spreads and everything. Essentially, I am making the video about Snorlax I wish I'd been able to find when I was starting to play competitive video game, although there is a comment section if there's any feedback. So, according to Pokemon Global Link, looking at the ratings battles and all of the information Pokemon glean from them, Snorlax is currently the 9th most used Pokemon, although at the recent Indianapolis North American International Championships, he featured heavily on both the finals teams and actually brought home the game for the winner at the end. So looking at the stats of Snorlax, he's got HP of 160, which is incredibly high, and he's got a huge special defense of 110. Defense is quite low at 65, which is a slight issue, but you do find that a lot of players choose to put a lot of EVs into defense in order to counteract this and make Snorlax a really bulky Pokemon. The attack of 110 is very high and really puts Snorlax as an attacker, whereas the special attack of 65 essentially becomes irrelevant because Snorlax is a physical attacker. And the speed of 30 is incredibly low, but that just makes Snorlax ideally suited to a Trick Room team where the speeds are inverted. So when you're looking for your IVs of Snorlax, you really want a 0 speed IV, and your special attack is irrelevant. The others, of course, as always, at the top. Now, in terms of nature for Snorlax, 71.7% of them online are brave. This puts the attack up, which, as we've said, we need, and puts the speed down to make Snorlax even better in a Trick Room environment. That is by far the most popular nature for Snorlax, but we see that 11.2% are relaxed, with higher defense, and as we've said, that is something you need to focus on with such a high special defense and speed down for the Trick Room, and 9.5% of them are adamant, which puts the attack up and the special attack down. So these Snorlax would have a maximum speed IV, and these would be non-Trick Room sets, the idea being that you can outspeed all those other Snorlax when you're not in Trick Room. Now, being that Snorlax is a normal type Pokemon, you're hitting nothing for weakness, it's normal type, but it also means that the only thing by which you are being hit for weakness is fighting type, and the most relevant fighting types we have around at the moment are Pheromosa, Hariyama, and Buzzwole, so look out for them, they will be hitting you for weakness. In terms of ability, Snorlax has 3, and we will explain them all, but by far the most important ability for Snorlax is Gluttony. 92.3% of all of the online Snorlaxes have Gluttony, and if you look at recent results, this really is the ability Snorlax has. This is the hidden ability on Snorlax, and it means that those pinch or 50% berries that restore 50% of your health, like Figgy, Mago, Aguave, etc., instead of being eaten when you have 25% of health remaining, they are eaten when you have 50% of health remaining. So you get knocked down to half health and then you go straight back up to full health. And this is especially exciting with the move Belly Drum, which we'll be looking at in a moment. Although, to spoil the surprise, it halves your HP and puts your attack up to maximum. Except, of course, when you have your HP, Gluttony kicks in comes a berry, you go up to full house with maximum attack, which is pretty tasty. Although even if you're not using a Belly Drum Snorlax, Snorlax, as we've said, is a very bulky Pokemon. So being able to go down to half health and then immediately back up to full health is a huge advantage for a fairly large Pokemon. Now, there are 2 other abilities you can use for Snorlax. 7.7% of people use the ability Thick Fat, which reduces the damage done by fire and ice type moves. Now, to be fair, Arcanine is a very prevalent Pokemon at the moment, the most popular, so it will protect against those flare blitzes, and Alolan Ninetales is a very popular ice type Pokemon, as well as other Pokemon like Porygon 2 having Ice Beam as an attack. So you can see why some people would want to play Thick Fat, but Gluttony is just way too good on such a defensive Pokemon. Now, there is a third ability of Snorlax, and as far as I can see, nobody is using it. Literally 0% of people online are using it. It's immunity that prevents poison. Now, in theory, this sounds pretty good. Plenty of Pokemon like Porygon 2 at the moment are using Toxic, and Poison Jab is a thing on Pokemon like Alolan Muck, Nihilego, Garchomp, and so on. The thing is, you're losing Gluttony, and also Snorlax has the move Facade, which doubles in attack power if you're poisoned. So an awful lot of people at the moment are using Gluttony and using Facade. Immunity is not seeing any play whatsoever, but bearing in mind, maybe you can find a use for it. In terms of held items, at this stage it should surprise nobody that the vast majority of them are these pinch or 50% berries. I mean, I've already told you that 92.3% of Snorlaxes have Gluttony, and why would you want Gluttony if you weren't using one of these berries? Do remember that when you're using these pinch berries, if your particular nature doesn't like the taste, because each nature has a taste it doesn't like, it will cause confusion. By far the most popular ones of these, you got Figgy Berry at 54.1%, Iapapa Berry at 19.7%, and a Guave at 9%. 8.6% of them are using Wiki Berry, but you can't use this with an Adamant Snorlax unless you want to be confused, and 1.3% are using Mago Berry, but this will confuse both brave or relaxed Snorlaxes, which is very much something you don't want to do. So, just stick to Figgy and Iapapa, and you're fine. For anyone wondering about the totals here, that means that 92.7% of Snorlax are using these pinch berries, which makes sense with 92.3% of them having Gluttony. Now, there are some other items that do occasionally get used with Snorlax. 4.8% of them use Choice Band, which gives you a 50% attack boost, but allows you to only use one move until you switch Snorlax out. This would be for a very offensive Snorlax, because of course you're not able to use moves like Belly Drum or Curse, because then you'd never be able to attack with them. And 1.1% of them use Assault Vest. Raises your special defense, but it means you can't use status moves. And of course, with your already sky-high special defense, that does make him incredibly bulky. It doesn't really see much play. You're talking 0.6% of Snorlaxes online, but I've got to give a shout out to Snorlium Z here. Give Snorlax his very own pulverizing Pancake Z move, which has a power of 210, which when you compare it to Hyper Beam having a base of 150 is incredibly strong. Now, in terms of moves, there are some which are clearly more favoured for your average Snorlax. 78.8% of online Snorlaxes use Recycle. Recycle just gets you your held item back. So this is for your pinch berries. Go down to 50% health, get back up with your pinch berry and Gluttony, then use Recycle to get the berry back. This should not be surprising when I told you the percentage of Snorlaxes with Gluttony and pinch berries. 70.4% of them use high horsepower. This is just a decent ground move. It's physical, and of course most Snorlaxes are physical attackers. It's just a decent ground move. And with Pokemon like Alolan Ninetales, Arcanine, Tapu Koko, all of whom are seeing a huge amount of play at the moment, being weak to ground, you can see why Snorlax might want a ground move. 52.6% of Snorlaxes are using Curse. This is one of those setup moves I've been talking about where your speed goes down one stage, but remember Snorlax is a slow Pokemon. Most of them are trained as slow as possible to take advantage of Trick Room anyway, so actually in Trick Room this makes you faster, and puts your attack and defense up one stage each. You hit harder while also being bulkier, and remember, your special defense is sky high with Snorlax, but your defense initially is not. 47.4% of them have Return, a physical normal move, and this gives you the same type attack boost. This is where your moves do more damage, where they are the same type as your Pokemon, and this really is the best normal move for Snorlax. It's got a base power of 102 if you've got maximum friendship, and if you're going into a competitive tournament, there is no excuse for not getting that Snorlax as friendly as possible. Your other main option, if you're not using something like Return, if you want want a normal type attack to get that stab bonus, then how about Facade? Now it's only got a base power of 70 initially, but if you're poisoned, paralysed or burned, and there are plenty of Pokemon like Arcanine using Will of the Wisp around at the moment, then it doubles up to 140, making it better than Return. So Return is generally better all of the time, until you get hit by one of those status conditions, in which case Facade becomes better. And the other attack that a lot of Snorlaxes use is Belly Drum at 40.1%. As I said before, Belly Drum halves your HP but maximises your attack. And in the same way you may choose between Return and Facade, you often will be choosing between Curse and Belly Drum. These are the two main types of Snorlaxes around at the moment. Either you use Belly Drum to instantly increase your attack, although of course you are a little bit vulnerable here, because if you lower your HP too much after being hit by a big attack, then your Pinch Berry might not bring your HP up as much as you'd like it to. Or you use Curse to not reduce your HP, and it's a little bit safer than Belly Drum, but it's also a little bit slower. Although you got to remember that Curse also improves your defense as well as your attack. And both online and in competitive tournaments at the moment, Curse is seeing more play than Belly Drum, although they really are the ones to choose between. I'll give you some sets for them at the end. In terms of partners, you can see the top partners on the board at the moment. A lot of these make sense. Arcanine has the ability Intimidate, lowers your opponent's attack, which helps out with your comparatively low defense. Tapu Koko has the Electric Terrain, which stops you being put to sleep, and gives you a nice fast attacker to partner with your slow Snorlax. Tapu Finney's got Misty Terrain, which stops you being put to sleep, but also has the attack Heal Pulse to help give Snorlax a bit of bulk. Mimikyu is one of those Trick Room setters, as is Porygon 2. Celesteela is just a nice bulky Pokemon to help you survive along with your Snorlax to really grind the game down to a complete halt while your opponent just can't KO anything. Kartana's just a fast, hard-hitting Pokemon. And ideally here with Kartana, you get to take a big KO so your opponent cannot double attack into the Snorlax. And with an attack of 181, I mean, the next highest really competitive Pokemon is Gyarados with 155. You can see why Kartana's going to get some big KOs nice and quickly. Alolan Ninetales has got Aurora Veil, which just reduces the damage done by both physical and special moves. Again, gives Snorlax that bulk, and I'm hoping by now you're starting to see that Snorlax really is a bulky Pokemon. You need to keep him safe, and a lot of these Pokemon that we're seeing partnered with him do exactly that. And of course, Tapu Lele's got Psychic Terrain, which stops priority moves, like for instance Fake Out, which will hit first and make Snorlax flinch, stopping your Curse or Belly Drum. Now, if we look specifically at how people are playing Snorlax, Christopher Kahn won the Australian Internationals with a Brave Snorlax with an Aguave Berry and Gluttony, exactly like we might expect. He chose Facade as the main attack, Recycle there to get the berry back, High Horsepower to have that ground attack, and Curse rather than Belly Drum. And Paul Chua got second in Indy with pretty much the exact same set, except he went for a Figgy Berry, which makes no real difference. Cesar Reyes made top 4 in Indy, but he actually played a slightly strange Snorlax. He played an Impish Snorlax to put the defense up. Like we've said, Snorlax does need a defense boost a lot of the time, while putting special attack down, which as we know, Snorlax is not a special attacker. And he actually played the Belly Drum Snorlax, so he chose to put the defense up using the nature, while then putting the attack up with Belly Drum, while also using Recycle and Gluttony, obviously, Facade, and Protect, which we don't see on an awful lot of Snorlaxes. So, yeah, a couple different ones there. What is very interesting, that in Indianapolis, 5 of the top 8 played Snorlax, whereas in Liverpool Regionals, only 1 of the top 8 played Snorlax. So maybe this means Snorlax is seeing a downturn in play, or it could just be that Liverpool Regionals is a bit of an anomaly. We're certainly going to find out at the weekend when Worlds comes around. Now, if you want some EV spreads, I have got Paul Chewer's EV spreads. I found them with a quick Google search, so we'll give him all of the credit, but they are readily available. He got second at Indy with his Curse Snorlax, and we can see there that he's gone 244, which is the maximum EV with defense. As I keep saying, Snorlax needs a defense boost, 196 into attack to do a lot more damage, and the final 68 into HP to make him a little bit bulkier. Now, in terms of belly drum, I can give you Ashton Cox, who won the Latin American International Championship in April with a belly drum Snorlax. Brave, Iapapa Berry, Gluttony, we should be expecting by now. Recycle, Return, High Horsepower belly drum. Sounds about right. His EVs, he went 244, the maximum into HP, with a little bit of a boost to attack and defense, and a tiny boost into special attack or special defense. And when you see tiny little boosts like that, they've generally been done to survive particular moves from particular Pokemon or get KOs on particular Pokemon, which may no longer be relevant, because of course we are a couple months on from there. Very personal things, but again, what we see from both of those players, EVs for Snorlax tend to go into defense, attack, and HP. We don't need them in special defense generally, because that's already huge. So that, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I'm concerned, is everything you need to know about Snorlax to go and play him competitively. Like with my trading card game videos, my goal is to not just say play this particular Snorlax, although I have given you 2 examples at the end that you can if you wish, but to actually give you everything you need to make your own Snorlax. But do let me know in the comments. I like to hear from you lovely people. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio for some live action, and I'm hoping to stream some video games soon. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. By far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.